Well, it is now 6 o'clock. So if anybody wants to kick the meeting off, Brian or?
Yeah, definitely. Well, welcome everybody. I appreciate you all coming out tonight to talk about this project here for the Harbor Loop Trail in SoNo Wharf. Actually, would give it back to you, Mayor, if you wanted to give some opening remarks, then we could get into the meeting.
All right, well, thank you, Brian. And yes, I want to thank everybody for joining us as well. You know, this is an exciting project, completing the segments of the Harbor Loop Trail and extending it north by creating recreational green space at the SoNo Wharf. This project really demonstrates the commitment of both the city and the redevelopment agency. And let's not forget our partners in the public sector for helping us along the Norwalk River Valley Trail. And this plan also complements very nicely the announced ad hoc committee of the Common Council for Climate Resilience and Sustainability and the planned investments in open space and trees over the next 3 years. Project is aligned with feedback that we received from residents during the development of the city's 10-year plan of conservation and development. Norwalk is, we're very, very fortunate to have amazing natural resources that enrich the lives of our residents and people that visit our community. During the course of the pandemic, usage of these trails actually increased by more than 200%. So you can see there's tremendous interest in making sure that we get this done and we get it done right. So it's of utmost importance that residents' input is continued to be heard and becomes part of this project moving forward. Creation of the SoNo Wharf encourages greater connection to the waterfront and provides green space along the riverfront for pedestrian enjoyment, relevant activities, and increased ecological sustainability. These are all important considerations, not only for today, but for our city's future. So I want to thank everybody again for all their hard work and effort in making sure that this project moves forward. It's an exciting time, and I look forward to seeing it completed. So thank you all, and I'll turn it back to you, Brian.
All right, thanks so much, Mayor. And again, welcome everybody. I'm really looking forward to having our discussion tonight, showing you all kind of where we're at with this project, introducing the project. But first, do a little bit of an introduction. I'm Brian Bedoli. I'm the Executive Director for Norwalk Redevelopment Agency. We're joined by a number of staff from our office, as well as city staff, as well as Weston and Sampson, who are our project engineers who will be leading a majority of the discussion tonight. In terms of the redevelopment agency, our role really serves to work on development in the urban core, taking a look at critical infrastructure such as the Harbor Loop Trail and the SoNo Wharf area, which we'll be discussing tonight. And this project really has been a long time in the making. It's been discussed as part of as the mayor mentioned, as part of the city's plan of conservation and development, and really the overall Harbor Loop Trail project, which I know a lot of you have been involved with. I've been keeping track of over the years. We're really trying to find a way to make those critical connections to make it a continuous trail full of destinations and full of amenities to increase overall trail usage and the overall walkability and bikeability of the city. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Ryan from our team, Weston and Sampson, who's going to provide an overview of our project, sort of some of the goals, and just provide a general update. And then we're going to open it up for a discussion in terms of getting some feedback to help inform our project. So Ryan, I will send it over to you.
All right, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Brian, for a great introduction to the project. John, if you want to go to the next slide. My name is Ryan Chmielewski. I'm a licensed landscape architect in the state of Connecticut. And with me tonight is John Tunsky, who's also a licensed landscape architect and acting as a project manager and the guy doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And Jeanette Cantu is with us as well as our moderator. She's been very helpful on the design aspect of things, as well as putting some of the presentation graphics together. We're happy to be here tonight. So tonight we're just going to give a brief project overview, talk about some of the goals that were first established when we started out the project, get you oriented with the project areas. We have the SoNo Wharf area, which is by the aquarium, and there's also a couple of other parcels that on the east side of the river that are part of this project. We won't be going to too much detail on those tonight. And we'll go on reasons why and really start getting into the SoNo Wharf concepts. have some fun, ask some questions, do some quiz and polls, go over the project timeline, and then wrap up with a survey. So in general, north is to the right on this image. I-95 is the first bridge you see in the center, and to the left is, or south is the Walk Bridge and Washington Street Bridge. The SoNo Wharf is on the west side of the river, adjacent to the aquarium. And on the east side of the river, we have 148 East Ave and 130 East Ave as our subject parcels. And that's the Norwalk River running right through the middle of the page. Some of the project goals when we were looking at the SoNo Wharf is really to transform it from a parking lot and support space to the aquarium and to the Sheffield Island Ferry, to an activated public open green space. We wanted to make sure that we have community informed design. We've met with project stakeholders over the past several months, and tonight is a very important meeting to receive and solicit feedback from the community on the snapshot of where we are today. And of course, building resilient infrastructure is key as well, with modern day flooding scenarios, historical flooding scenarios of Norwalk River. We want to make sure whatever we do, we're providing resilient riverbanks to protect our park infrastructure from eroding away, and really meet today's standards for resilient design. So today, we started off with a project kickoff meeting and really did a site reconnaissance of all the areas that were on the previous maps. We had boots on the ground, walked up and down the trails on the east side, also walked from the Washington Street Bridge all the way north to the section of trail by the aquarium drop-off area. As we were doing so, we were completing inventory analysis of the natural resources on site, utilities, existing buildings, parking infrastructure, connections to the trail on both sides of the river. We met with city engineering regarding the Walk Bridge project. That's a very, very big piece that you can see in the background, replacement of that railroad bridge, and how it affects our design decisions moving forward on the SoNo Wharf area. We've conducted a bunch of meetings with the working group and steering committee over the course of the past several months. We've met with the WPCA to talk about sanitary sewer along the corridor. There's main trunk lines running up and down the east side of the river, as well as several crossings. We met with Connecticut Deep to Department of Energy and Environmental Protection to go over the regulatory influence on each of the project areas and what it means in terms of design. We met with the Seaport Association, the Maritime Aquarium, other project stakeholders at the end of December. We held a stakeholder meeting group that was stakeholder public meeting where we tried to solicit feedback before we got into the design process, and had a good meeting with the folks over at 148 East Ave. There's also another waterfront study, industrial waterfront land use study in the project area. So we've coordinated with the design consultant there who's working with the city to make sure that we're on the same page in terms of design, and really it's a different goal and different outcome that they're looking for in terms of land use planning, but really we fall into the context of their project area. So overall, this now north is pointing straight up. We just wanted to highlight the black lines on this page are the existing multi-use trails, part of the Harbor Loop Trail, as well as a regional system that extends out to Danbury. The dashed lines are pending multi-use trails where there's plans already in place and proposed multi-use trails, or they're actually gaps as well. And then proposed multi-use trails are what we're focused on today. So 138 and 130 and 148 East and SoNo Wharf. So 130 and 148 East are very linear in fashion. There's very limited room for like really creative design. Besides, how do you make the connection that's sandwiched between private property and the Norwalk River? There's a lot of tidal wetlands and natural resources that we have to accommodate, the sanitary sewer lines, and negotiations with private property owners. So really today we're focusing on the SoNo Wharf area where we have a little bit more flexibility in design as it's the shape of the parcel is much wider and it's currently owned by the city. So John's going to walk you through some of the existing conditions and take you through some of the design concepts as well.
Good. Thank you, Ryan. So again, my name is John Tunsky. I'm also a landscape architect with Weston & Sampson. So one of our earlier processes was looking at our existing conditions here for the wharf area. So this would be what we call site analysis. So you can tell by the legend down on the bottom right, the green lines are representing our property lines. The gray lines, dash lines are representing your contours. The blue line running along the shoreline is the coastal jurisdiction line that is at elevation 5.4. And then the FEMA 100-year flood zone is this kind of pink salmon color line running through the property there. So big things here, we have the large 45-car parking lot area here with the two docks for the Sheffield Island Ferry and the Maritime Aquarium. You also have the existing IMAX theater. To the north of that is the walk bridge, which is slated to be replaced. And then to the north of the walk bridge is the aquarium. This arrow is a little bit out of date, so we added in the new building additions they've had done recently here in the gray boxes. And then to the north is the bus drop off and where the trail continues. Again, north would be to the right in this image. Some site photos of the wharf parcel. On the left is the looking towards the south, the parking lot on your right, and that kind of promenade area right now to your left, consisting of pavers and a boardwalk area. The middle picture is the dock looking towards the south. You can see the research vessel there. And then to the right is the walk bridge, the existing walk bridge looking to the north. Some site photos of the aquarium area. On the left is the back of the aquarium area looking towards the south with the walk bridge in the background. In the middle is the aquarium also looking north up towards the existing trail and park area. And then on the far right is a close-up kind of the Norwalk Regional Valley Trail looking north.
Yeah, so on the photo to the left, it's interesting to see the room we have to work with between the aquarium facilities and the river. It's a very tight space. Again, that's very linear in fashion. So I'm really looking to accommodate a trail as well as maintain access with the aquarium.
And this is just another image of the project area that we're going to be concentrating on, where we developed our concepts from. So just a couple little housekeeping things as we move forward. We are going to have plenty of time for you to respond to things. We prefer using the Q&A option. So if you have a question that you'd like to type out, we can take those anytime kind of moving forward, and we'll try and address those as quickly as we can during this presentation. The chat, we're not really going to monitor during this presentation, so we prefer you wouldn't use that. We are going to have a couple little points during our public engagement where we will ask you to use that. And then if you'd like to speak and be heard and have your video on, we can just raise your hand and we'll elevate you so your video and audio can be heard as well. So we have two concepts for you to look at. We're pretty excited to show them with you. This would be concept A. Concept A concentrates around the event lawn in the center of the space. So around that event lawn to the west, there'll be a trellis area with some swings. And then west of that, we'd be providing a bus drop-off area with parking and possibly for food trucks. Directly to the north of that, proposing a recreation building. This would be a two-level building. Would have restrooms, family restrooms, a ticket booth for the ferry and kayak rentals, as well as some kayak storage. Level 2 could be potentially some meeting room space or office space. The advantage of going to a two-level building here would be we could do a movie wall for evening events on the south side. So during nighttime, during the summer, you could set up some chairs and view some movies outdoors with your family from the event lawn. Moving towards the north, we'd be providing a 46-car parking space that goes underneath the walk bridge. Directly towards the east of that, towards the river, there'd be an overlook which utilizes the existing IMAX foundation. And we would include a couple of trellis structures that follow the angle of the IMAX roof. Just south of that, we would provide off the existing dock area there, we'd provide another dock for ADA accessible kayak launch. And that's pictured in the middle image in the bottom. To the south of that, we are showing the new dock, which the Connecticut DOT is providing. So generally what they're doing is really consolidating those two docks into one as part of the walk bridge project. To the west of that, we would be providing a play area with some fitness equipment and a seat wall would surround that. So really give that a nice little private space, but it would be visible. It would have a large play structure that would be pretty vertical and colorful, represented in this image here. To the south of that, there'd be some seat walls moving up an elevation away from the river to a gateway plaza, which meets you at the Washington Street intersection. There would be one historical kind of water feature. What we're calling is the well. It's a historical water source where ships filled up when they were docking here in the past. So we would have some type of element to pay tribute to that.
So in this concept as well, so if you, I guess, John, are you gonna go over the location of the Harbor Loop Trail in this or the overall?
Yeah, I could just do that in the overall one.
Okay.
So overall, we would be providing a 10-foot wide multi-use trail. So that would connect at the north, follow through the aquarium property, and it would really hug the river, really just above that coastal jurisdiction line, and then exit back out at Washington Street at that gateway plaza here. So that would be a multi-use trail for walking, biking, and any other type of recreation. On the aquarium property, we would be providing a kind of a plaza area that would include seating, some informational signage, exhibits, plantings. There would also be an 8-foot fence providing some security from the back of house service area for the aquarium. And we're providing a sliding gate to get to their loading dock, which they use occasionally. The existing fishing dock here would remain, and we'd add a little more space for the outdoor art area to the north where the trail connects.
So on this concept here, this is concept B. We're really utilizing the same north connection. If you look at the overall picture, as it was very limited in trail alignment. And so the Harbor Loop Trail, big picture, will be connecting from the same spot in the north, traveling under the bridge. But instead of traveling on the closer to the water and the CJL coastal jurisdiction line, this trail wraps up towards North Water Street to get you up and out of the, I call it the wet, and then work your way over towards the entrance plaza at the corner of Washington and North Water Street. As part of this feature, as part of this park design, we have a main open lawn area that has flexible programming for different types of events, really a soft green space at the border of SoNo area, and then also have a multi-purpose paved plaza, really another flexible space for all different types of events. Here, if you were to do a movie, you might have a pop-up inflatable movie screen, or small performing arts can be performed in this plaza, or just flexible seating areas can be utilized as well. This has a small ticket booth to support the Sheffield Island Ferry informational features, and then also a small kayak rental area as well. The Boardwalk, the IMAX Foundation is also left in this concept to utilize as an overlook. It's really a good spot for overlooking the Norwalk River and its natural features that it has, as it will be unimpeded by boats docked from the CTD, from the new Connecticut DOT dock to the south. Additionally here, we have 45 parking spaces, a little bit different configuration, and a singular bus drop-off area, more close to the walk bridge, as well as plenty of opportunity for seating on any of the walkways, whether it's the access walk that brings you down by the native plantings and access to the boat launches, or in the open lawn area and in and around the plaza space as well. So plenty of opportunities for seating. Also has an area for bike racks and ADA accessible parking as well. There's the difference here in the kayak launch area. It's coming off of the same existing octagonal dock platform, but we would ramp down to a more natural boulder kayak launch area. It's pictured down in the lower left, and it's really would be designed to work with the tides as they come in and out, and have different level platforms to launch your kayak from. With this setup, the kayak rental area may have limited kayaks in it, and then potential share space with maybe a nearby parking garage, or with the aquarium of some sort to store additional kayaks should they be needed in the future. And so that really wraps up concept 2. This is the overall picture, really to get some flowering trees around that central core plaza, really get some green into that public open space, as well as, you see a lot of trees there. We don't really see the trees as visual obstructions into the Norwalk River. Really gives a sense of human scale, and if we choose the trees correctly, they'll be higher branch where we'll be able to see underneath the canopies as well. So John, do you want to continue on to the next?
Yeah, so at this point, we're going to start our public engagement process. There was a couple of questions that came in through the Q&A. We can try and address those now. From Catherine, she requested some drawings showing the scale of the bridge, standing in the park area, and we could certainly provide that as we advance these concepts further down the road. Let's see, Ron asked, we live in the Ironworks across from the IMAX theater. How long do you expect it will take to tear down the theater, and what will be done to mitigate that noise? Ron, really, that's kind of outside of our scope at this point. And Brian maybe will speak to that a little bit later in the presentation. And then Catherine brought up thinking that the parking lot would be more beneficial if we provided 2 exits. So that's a great comment as well. Thank you. All right. Our first public engagement question poll we're going to ask, Jeanette, if you could pull that up. First, we just want to know which concept do you all prefer, A or B? So we'll give you a quick moment to answer this question, and then we'll share the results with everyone.
Yeah, can you slide the, oh, never mind.
Yeah, so the poll window, you can slide that off to the side on your own computer, so you can see the concepts. How are we looking, Jeanette?
26 answers so far out of 40.
So yeah, we'll just give it a couple more seconds for that. Get your answer in as soon as possible.
Again, this is really just to get general feedback right now. So there's no right or wrong answer. Don't be afraid of choosing one or the other. You'll have opportunity to put in some comments if you like certain options of each one. So.
All right, so looks like concept A got about 41% and concept B got about 59%. So relatively close. Brian, did you want to share something? No. Okay.
No, we're good.
All right. So our next poll, we're going to look at each concept individually, and we just kind of want to know what you like about each concept. So first one is going to be concept A. So again, you can pull that off to the side so you can see it, but generally all those options are all program items within the site plan, and it is a multiple choice question, so please feel free to select as many as you want. So the question is, what elements do you like about concept A?
So I think an important thing to know as we're going through these here, the images on the bottom of the page are really precedent images or just ideas to help people visualize what some of the features may look like. They're not necessarily designed at this point. Right now we have everything designed in plan view, and it's sometimes people have a difficult time visualizing what something may look like. So we try to get some images to help generate those thoughts.
Okay, Jeanette, why don't we share those results?
We're still receiving answers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this one might take a couple extra minutes because there's lots of choices to go through.
All right, so this is great. So definitely got a large response for a lot of things: event lawn, play area, overlook, kayak launch, seawall sculpture area. Those all got high rankings. So. Good. Thank you for that. We will move on to, we're going to have a similar question for concept B. So again, here's concept B. Jeanette, if you could pull that poll up for us. Again, it's the same thing, multiple choice. What elements do you like about concept B? So just select the ones you like the most. All right, so concept B results came in. Open lawn got very high reviews. Viewing platform, kayak launch, and kayak rental also got high marks. Okay, good. Thank you. So we have just one more poll, I believe, for this. And so the final poll, Jeanette, if you could just pull that up. We're curious to see what you all think about the type of style this space should have, whether it's traditional, a more of a modern feel, or more of a maritime feel. That's the first question. The second question is, would you like to see additional historical elements out here? Concept A did have some call outs, as well as B for different paying tribute to the history of the site out there. So we're curious if you'd like to see more, or if you think what we have is enough.
Maybe, John, if you could clarify just sort of what you had in mind in terms of some of those historic elements to help inform the response.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks, Brian. So both concepts, we maintain the IMAX foundation and kind of kept that shape. So you have some history of that building being very prominent in the city for so long there. We were providing a trellis as part of that as well, kind of mimicking that pitch of that steep pitch of that roof. And then in concept A, in following with some of the historical signage on the property now, there'd be a small water feature representing the historical well that was on the property, which was used to fill up ships that were docking on site with fresh water. Okay, excellent. So there was a strong liking to maintain a maritime feel out here. And there is a strong desire to see additional historical elements. So that's great information. We'll incorporate that in our future design choices. Good, thank you. Okay. I think we'll just.
So in the chat, I just saw this, but someone requested that we gave a quick warning before we close the poll. So sorry about that if we missed that before we shut down the polls.
Yeah, and there will be more opportunities. We take Q&A right now. Let's see, Catherine brought up some ideas, thinking that the parking lot would need 2 exits, which is a good point. She mentioned, would there be an ability for someone to, a person from a private boat to drop off here? That's something we can certainly look into moving ahead. And Catherine also would like connection to the amazing Norwalk towers, which are being removed. Okay. I believe there was also a question in the chat as part of lighting underneath the walk bridge. That would be through our discussions with the city engineer, there would be lighting provided as part of the walk bridge project underneath that bridge in the future. And we will have additional, there should be some survey items at the end if you'd like to add additional information or comments. A little bit of our timeline moving forward. February, March, we will be updating our design, which is going to be entering phase 2 of our work. March 30th, 2022 at 6 p.m. We'll be having our second public meeting, our findings presentation, which is where we're going to gather all the information you've given us tonight and all your feedback and really incorporate that into really one concept to move forward, and we'll develop that further based on what we've heard tonight. April, we'll be making a few presentations and recommendations. And then finally in May will be our final presentation for our project. So again, our next meeting, mark your calendars, March 30th, 6 p.m. We'll be sending out, or I believe Norwalk Redevelopment will be posting links to that meeting as well. And there should be a Zoom survey after you exit this poll. If not, our emails, Brian, Ryan, and myself, our emails are all down here at the bottom. Feel free to reach out with us with any additional information.
Sure, John, it seems like there are a few more questions that came in, so we could allow some time for a good Q&A session. If you want to speak out loud and have any comments or suggestions live, if you feel more comfortable writing them afterwards, that's okay. Let's go through some of these. And I saw, Vanessa, that you're on right now, so maybe you can provide some more feedback on the timing of the removal of the IMAX theater and bridge, if you have that information yet. You want to start off there?
Jeanette, you might have to elevate Vanessa.
Oh.
She's all the way.
Can we show the two concepts again side by side while we take the Q&A?
Sure.
Thank you.
So as Jeanette's getting,
I think I'm here. Can you
Okay.
guys hear me? Okay. So all the questions related to the IMAX and the walk bridge, I think that would be better answer if we defer the questions to the walk program. As of now, the city do not have a firm schedule on their construction, but we can definitely add an email at the end with the walk bridge program, where there is another one that I heard about the lights under the bridge. Yes, there will be like the walk bridge as well as more streetscape lights along the sidewalk.
okay. Thank you, Vanessa. It was a little jarbled, but I think I was able to follow along on every word on that. So thank you for that answer, and that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I think just following up, there's an email that we can provide to direct questions to the walk bridge program that can provide additional detail, and we can send that out. Or either put it in the chat, Vanessa, if you have it available.
Can we provide it later? I may not have it right here, but I'll definitely provide it.
Right.
There are a couple of people that raised their hands. I can bring them in.
Sure. Just one at a time.
Brian Rowland.
Sorry, I don't think I actually raised my hand. Sorry, if I did, it was an accident. I was trying to do a Q&A.
Okay.
I'm good.
No worries.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I had my hand raised because I touched my phone.
Tanner Thompson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for doing this. I really like the both designs.
You there, Tanner?
I think we might have lost you, Tanner.
Yeah, I got promoted to a panelist.
Yeah, you can show your face if you want.
I'm trying to.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, I can't see my face, but awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm Tanner Thompson. I am the chair of the city's Bike Walk Advisory Commission. And first, I want to say thanks for these two concepts. I really like what I'm seeing here. I picked concept B, although I found when presented with the two polls about the different elements of A versus B, I actually picked more elements of A because the elements of B that I was most interested in weren't listed. An obvious one is the bike racks. I think that this is in the core of a walkable, bikeable part of town, and having bike racks here for people to arrive and lock up safely is key. The other reason I picked B is because of the way that the NRVT is integrated into the concept. From my perspective, advising the city about biking and walking, not just as forms of recreation, but also as forms of transportation, the NRVT is really the backbone of the city's active transportation network. And as such, the more that it's natural to move along it and also to connect to it on foot and on a bike, the more it can serve that purpose. So with concept B, the way that the trail flows into the intersection there of Water Street and Washington Street, I think is easier when you're on a bike because I would think a lot of the traffic is going to be turning onto the bridge. That's where the NRVT actually goes, like the official signed trail. It goes over the bridge and down to the beach. And so just thinking if I'm on a bike coming in that way, it's important that I can then flow into the bike lane that's on the south side of the bridge going to the west, and vice versa. If I'm coming from the beach in that bike lane, right now the bike lane disappears kind of at the end of the bridge and it becomes a sharrow, meaning that you have to merge with traffic. This is a little bit more granular, but if it would be possible to have like a bike ramp up onto the sidewalk so that you can then easily flow onto the NRVT and go north from there, that would be nice. But just generally, I guess what I'm saying is that looking at the NRVT as a transportation corridor for people on foot and on bike, as you go into the more granular elements of the design, I think that's important. Thanks.
Thank you. Jeanette, do you see any more hands raised?
I see Mike Muschak has his hand raised. There we go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Not sure if my video is coming on, but that's okay. You don't need to see me. Mike Muschak, I am a landscape architect as well, and am currently on the city's Planning and Zoning Commission, and was involved in the Harbor Loop Trail concept in the early days, about 10 years ago. So this is great. I will just throw my support of what Tanner just said. I agree. I think we could also look at markings on the pavement to do some separation of bike and ped that is used, for instance, in Brooklyn Bridge Park, in New York, and various other places. When you have high intensity use here, you could actually designate some part of the wide path for bikes and peds to just get a little bit of organization going. I mean, you can mix it all up, but that's just one idea. I do like A personally right now, because I think one thing that's so important about this park is going to be what we like now about this area is watching the bridge turn whenever it opens, which is not that frequent because sometimes it gets stuck. But the new bridge will actually open a lot more frequently. And there's two bridges actually side by side. The action of those going up and down is like a giant kinetic sculpture that's going to be the fun thing to see. And when it happens, I think you're just going to get a crowd watching it because it's going to be these bridges lifting up, making noise and it'll be an event. And so I'm all for the idea that we should enhance the views of this action. And so A, has less trees in the way, basically, which is easy to fix, and B, if you wanted to do, I like B for the separation, as Tanner said. I like the trail getting away from the waterfront and getting more up to the street. So I think a hybrid version perhaps would be a way I would move towards looking at this. I like the two-story structure because I think it gives you more because I think it gives you more options for programming. In bad weather, you could have school kids run up into the meeting room. You could have small events. I think, and also more kayak storage. And I think kayak rental here is going to be one of the big draws. So I like the larger structure there as kind of an iconic structure. It separates you from the parking lot. And eventually the trail will continue on the other side of the bridge when more development happens further south along the waterfront, along Water Street. That's nothing proposed right now, but anticipating that, I always envision the trail going under the bridge. But I think the logistics of that are tough because of the clearance. And it is, I've been on bridges or waterfront trails in other cities that go under bridges where you could literally almost reach up and touch the bridge overhead. And there's many examples of that around the country. But that would be ideal because then you could pop out the other side and continue on a future waterfront trail down to the marinas where it would probably end and come back out to Water Street. But anyway, I think this solves a lot of problems. It's great. I love the green space next to the river. I love the trail behind the aquarium. And I do think the bridge going up and down is going to be the main event. And so that's why I do prefer A, but B could be fixed to let more views of the bridge. So I think I'm repeating myself now, so I'll stop. But thanks, these look great. And I just applaud everybody who's taken the initiative here, redevelopment agency and the Weston and Sampson firm. These are really creative, really awesome ideas. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
We have Catherine Sneedacker.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, just want to see if I can get my video on. So I've spent the last 30 years driving by this intersection probably 6 to 8 times a day. Feel like I know it pretty well. Truck accidents, police activity. This is not a corner where I really like to take my children, especially since you have a park all the way, two more blocks down. I would actually prefer that the newest residents of SoNo, the dogs, have something, because the dogs are going to be there anyway. If you watch that small piece of grass next to the Maritime Center opening right now, there's usually 3 or 4 dogs standing there on any one time. We have so many dogs, and a lot of the buildings are now 2 dogs per apartment. And so I feel like the dogs, there are more dogs down there than kids. I also want to see if the new bridge, which I'm not a fan of, is 8 feet taller than 50 Washington Street. I'd like to see how much shadow this new bridge casts over this area and just how overwhelming this 50 Washington plus 8 feet bridge is. And, is this going to be an area that's really hard to grow grass, or is it just going to sort of be overwhelmed? I spend a lot of time on the water. I'm actually going to be opening a charter out of my boat this summer. So as a private charter, it would be great if I could pick up passengers right there. I'm a little concerned with kayaks being right there, because especially during time changes, the current can be really massive. And if you have people coming out and picking up a kayak, they're going to get stuck. Like, you definitely have to have a chase boat or something. I literally think that the kayaks are better further down the harbor, where they have a little time to figure out what they're doing before you're putting them in an intersection where you have crew teams, regular boats, other boats. I think it's a little crowded there to be throwing in a bunch of random kayakers. But I love the trees, and I love the flow, and supportive that this space is made better for the people that live there. But I think it's younger people with dogs, not people with kids. So thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Anyone else, Jeanette, or there is some Q&A questions?
Yes, we have one more. Jeff Sher.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you, Jeff.
Hey, how's it going? Jeff Sher with, I'm the president of the Norwalk Tree Alliance. So I wanted to come say hi for with that hat on. I'm also a landscape architect, so I appreciate both options here. And I appreciate the comments, and I appreciate the work being put in. But I agree with Catherine with the kayakers in a super high traffic area. I appreciate the plantings in option B, closest to the road. But I did vote for A because of the parking made more sense to me, just an initial concept. And the placement of the movie wall was nice. But I did like the open lawn better on B for, I think what Mike was saying, that could be like a nice picnic area. And you could watch the bridge go up and down, and just a lot of interest there, while also the plantings behind it sort of block or bring the scale of the road to a more pedestrian level. And then the other thing that I noticed in option A was the play area being so close to the road for safety, and kids playing in that area might be a little bit of concern, especially because of the park further down the road. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say hi from the Norwalk Tree Alliance. Hi as a landscape architect, and thank you. So.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for your feedback.
We have one more. Audrey Kusarin.
Yes, you said my last name very nicely in Italian. It is Cosarin. I'm chair of the Oak Hills Park Nature Advisory Committee, and I'm just joining really quickly. I was just having dinner with my husband. I'm going to play on one end of the scale, which is, what does the river want? And I think if we ask the river, Norwalk River, what would it like along its shores? It would probably say absolutely nothing man-made. So, in looking, this looks very lovely. It's preferable to having an industrial presence and a pollution kind of situation, which I think has been going on for many years. It's nice that people want to utilize the river for recreation, but I sort of err on the side of less is more. And we have to look at what the natural environment would be like if we weren't here at all, to allow the birds and the fish and all of nature to be sort of permaculture, working, living harmoniously together, whether we're here or not. So I think what you've got here is very nice, but to me, it looks very overbuilt. And again, what would the river want? So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. So just a little follow-up on that comment too. Both concepts did provide some green buffer, additional green buffer from the river's edge to the pathways, and really try to incorporate native plantings along that area for that riparian corridor. That was also one of the topics discussed with the Maritime Aquarium, and incorporating potential educational opportunities to talk about the types of plantings that would naturally survive along the Norwalk River. So I appreciate the comment. Thank you.
We have sorry, go ahead.
Hello.
Diane Luzarine.
Yes, I don't know how to take my video, put the video on. You're seeing the top of a next door neighbor's dog's head in the view. Little Perry. Anyway, first of all, I'm sorry I was late in getting on this meeting. I wanted to know whether people can still submit some written comment and what is the deadline for that. Number two, I am one of the founding members of the Norwalk River Watershed Association back in the mid-90s. I'm a longtime environmental advocate in Norwalk. So I wanted to lift up much of what Audrey just stated about trying to find a better balance as far as having less man-made materials. One of the things that I believe when I first read some of the backup information is I think you were also looking at completing the Harbor Loop Trail on the east side of the river as well. There are 2 spots. Is that correct? I think it is.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a quick comment. The Coastal Area Management Act had requested, and rightly so, many, many years ago, that the public has some access to the harbor. It did not state that we have to, or that any landowner must ring a harbor with trails so that there is no place for the natural habitats to form. In other words, and I had many discussions with one of the former planning and zoning directors, Mike Green, about this, because what happened is, as you can see now, is that there was the last remaining forest. It wasn't a virgin forest, but where you see a beautiful building, but it knocked down an entire forest, and that's on East Avenue. And then we had, of course, the former Katie Gibbs School. The owner did not want to put in such a complicated walking trail, but the city made them do it. And in doing so, they destroyed natural habitat. My point of saying this is, I know that there are 2 places that's a wonderful idea to have the East Norwalk side of a loop of a trail. But at times, you don't have to have it right on the water. You can move that trail around a building as long as it's connected eventually back to the water. My point is that Coastal Area Management Act does not say we must guarantee every inch around the harbor. Every inch has public access. It's that you have to provide some access. And I say, let's provide as much as possible. But at what cost? If we're going to be bulldozing down natural habitat, we have to weigh the risks and the benefits, of course. So I would love you to keep that in mind in the development of at least the east side. I'm very happy that we're looking at what we have at the Riverside Medical Complex. That is long in coming, well worth it. But I know that one of the barriers has been that next northerly apartment building where they would have to do major construction to get a trail around that building. I say, why don't we use an alternative? Is bring the trail up on the street side and then bring it back down. I think that would move this completion of the East Norwalk side of the loop trail along, and it may just save some habitat below that apartment complex. I'm an environmental professional. I do waste management assessments, but I also offer my clients how to become more green. And it always includes places where we can add habitat when possible. And I do think on the west side, I'm looking right now at the public engagement A and B. I think it's terrific. There will be more trees. I say, let's put as many trees, native trees preferable as possible, but let's pull back and have a much wider vegetative buffer before you put what, like I see in B and A, we have a trail that is very, very close to the mean high tide line. Let's pull it back and put more vegetative buffer there. I think it will help in cleansing the polluted runoff that goes into the river. It will also cool down the rainwater with climate change. We have to employ more green infrastructure in this project, and I think it'll be just terrific, including lastly, for the parking spaces. Let's try to see if we can make sure that we embrace green infrastructure instead of the traditional engineered underground water retention, and maybe even use some pervious surfaces if possible for much of what I see paved here. I think that would make the project even greener and even better for Norwalk, better for the river, and better for nature. Thanks so much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Diane. Very thoughtful comments. And as we move forward into the detailed design of things, part of the goals here on that resiliency is helping meet some of the city's MS4 requirements and disconnecting impervious surfaces. So those comments are taken to heart. Thank you.
I think we can go now to open questions.
All right.
So I think some of these questions may have been verbalized. So as we go through them, amazing Norwalk towers, which are being removed. That's a great opportunity for a historical plaque or some sort of element. Now, the towers, are you talking about the bridge piers? I'm taking it, and the towers that help span the railroad bridge. So yes, there's ways to incorporate that, and I believe, John, there's plenty of opportunity out here for that. Dog park area, we haven't discussed that. Brian, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, so yeah, this is an issue that we are looking at, whether it's, within this space or looking at, adjacent open spaces, but this is something that's definitely important. I'm actually a resident in the area too, with the same interest and consideration. So I think we'll be taking a look at that as we move forward and see what the most appropriate option is.
Great, thank you. Will the trail be raised boardwalk or pervious pavement to help protect water quality and allow for more marsh and grass plantings? Those will be all considered. We will be looking at the hydraulics of the site and which types of materials are most durable long-term from a maintenance standpoint to the city, and provide sound infrastructure. So yes, portions of like the IMAX theater might provide an opportunity for boardwalk, and the connections into the dock will be more boardwalk, but really we're contemplating at grade paved surfaces, so for longevity. So James Carter, trail route is less clear and consistent in A. Thank you for that comment. Is there a way to include public bathrooms and water? So that's a great comment. And part of the recreation building in concept A. Concept B has potential for either increasing the size of the buildings or incorporating that as well. And we'll be discussing those program elements with the committee as we move forward. So great comment and thank you. Mike Muschak, I suggest a tensile structure or open roof covering the overlook to protect from sun and rain. Thank you for that comment, and we'll get into the potential for that, whether it's on the overlook or other areas. The shade structure, the tensile structure in this environment would be fitting, and we just want to make sure that we coordinate with the easement rights adjacent to the bridge pier and make sure that there's no conflict with bridge operations and security. Thank you for the comment. Richard Harris, what vegetation is planned for the shoreline and marsh restoration? Right now, the vegetation is conceptual in nature. We're just identifying areas, and as we get into detailed design, we'll look at species that are appropriate for the flooding, occasional flooding condition, and that are native to the area. Will there be time to submit written ideas after tonight? The answer is yes. On our last slide, we have email addresses where you could send comments and ideas. And I don't know if you, I think that'll be the best way to receive additional comment and question. Brian, do you agree with that?
Yeah, feel free to send it either to me or to the project team using the emails listed right there.
And there should be a survey after this webinar is over where you can hopefully type in some additional information and comments.
Great. And then Mike Muschak, thank you. South Norwalk was once called Old Well for about 150 years. That's a great tidbit. I appreciate that comment. The new walk bridge is about 100 feet shorter in height than the existing electrical towers, which will be removed. And thank you for that comment. The park, either Peter Vitoretto, the park, either A or B, support the economy of Washington Street. The food vendor trucks are likely in competition to the restaurants to be considered. Okay, that's a great comment. So we'll consider that when we discuss further. Diane Lauricella, can you incorporate renewable energy features like solar panels where needing energy? We can certainly consider some of the options for that and incorporate the potential for any electrical needs. You know, any large scale power draw would require significant solar panels. So maybe there are some options for some solar features out here. Brian Boland, is the aquarium on board with the path on their property? When Oyster Shell Park opened a few years back, there was a plan to build a boardwalk around the aquarium. So we did meet with the aquarium and they're excited to get the trail behind the property, you know, to increase public access and direct connection to the Norwalk River from their facility. The boardwalk, from our understanding, we were exploring different options in coordination with Connecticut Deep. So we're continuing to vet whether that at-grade paved area is more desirable and, quite frankly, permittable along that waterfront area. Tanner Thompson. Generally speaking, what is the difference in lifespan between a boardwalk and a conventional asphalt path, taking into account the needs for repavement due to things like root undergrowth? Buckling pavement is a big problem on the existing section of the HLT by the water treatment plant. So that's quite a complicated and multi-layered question. We could, in part of our process, we're going to be working with the city to, vet some of those questions and really take those comments into account. Root undergrowth, there's means and methods to help prevent that. I've worked on plenty of trails going through dense forests and woods, and there's certain root barriers you could put along your pavement section that help prevent that pavement buckling. And also talk about certain types of tree species that don't necessarily have running roots, and they have more downward growing roots. Jeff Share, March 30th will have a further refined design. Yes, that is our goal. We want to come to a preferred option, and it's likely based on this, and just my gut feeling is that the designs, some of the elements from both pieces will be incorporated into a final design. Catherine Snedeker, the towers are historical and in every shot of Norwalk. I appreciate that comment. Catherine Snedeker again, the proposed bridge is 8 feet higher than the 50 Washington, and this design is only used in industrial areas. No one has any idea how big this bridge will be and dominate the space in the river. Thank you for your comment, and I think that should be expressed in the walk bridge public informational meetings. Mike Muschak, are you in any discussions with DOT for the trail on the east side of the river under the Norwalk Bridge that will extend the treatment plant trail to Liberty Square? Brian, I'll leave that one for you.
Yeah, so that project's actually undergoing concurrent design. Mike Yosek with the city is managing that, but we are coordinating, obviously, in that regard, as it is a critical piece for the overall loop. But that is advancing.
Thank you, Brian.
We have Tanner Thompson who raised his hand. I'm just gonna bring him up.
Sure.
Hey, you guys hear me again?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks for taking multiple questions. Appreciate it, or rather comments, because this is a comment. This is about communicating with businesses. I've been in touch with some businesses on Washington Street, and I've heard people express concerns about the construction here and potentially affecting parking, or at least affecting their customers' perception of parking. And I want to point out some things I've heard about areas like this previously. In particular, I grew up in Indiana, next to Carmel, where there's an excellent trail that connects Carmel to Indianapolis. Carmel's about the same size as Norwalk, and the city's come to talk about their property adjacent to the trail as beachfront property. And I thought that was interesting because here we do have effectively beachfront property or riverfront property, but with the addition of the trail, it'll become that much more valuable. And so I would suggest that and maybe this is more feedback for the redevelopment agency maybe than our consultants here, but when communicating with businesses, it might be really helpful to point that out, especially if they express concerns about parking maybe being rearranged, that the trail will bring its own source of natural foot traffic. And as it's coming now right into that intersection that I mentioned earlier, that'll bring people essentially to the door of all of these businesses that wouldn't otherwise come by. So I think it's a point that should be made to businesses, especially if they're concerned about losing parking or about losing perception of parking. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a great comment. Part of our design process, we talked about having an attractor at the corner of Washington and North Water for that very reason of pulling the trail users, give them a reason to get to that street corner. And once they get there, they'll be able to see what SoNo has to offer, restaurants and businesses that they could attend. So thank you for the comment. Appreciate it.
We have one more QA.
One last comment from Catherine Schnedeker. One last dog comment. The dog families already use this space right now. So if this new space is not going to be dog friendly, maybe another green space could be open for dogs. Thank you. Thanks, and we'll, as Brian had mentioned before, we'll discuss the dog situation and if this is the right location, and if so, how do we incorporate this to be a dog-friendly park?
There was a question in the chat from Jeff Sher saying thoughts on lighting treatments under the bridge.
Vanessa had discussed that before, and really those questions should be directed towards the Walk Bridge project. So John, do you want to just explain a little bit how the final comment session will work? Like as we ride off into the sunset here, how will people be able to answer or provide additional feedback in that poll scenario?
Yes, so I believe when you are exiting the seminar today, or the webinar today, there should be a opportunity for you to add some additional comments. If not, I would certainly write down our emails here at the bottom, and you could certainly email those if that does not work for you later today or tomorrow. We will take comments whenever.
Mike Muschak, thank you for your comment. Cumulatively, the Stepping Stones Museum and Aquarium draw hundreds of thousands of visitors. This trail will help draw them to the businesses of Washington Street. Thanks for that comment. With that, Brian, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, so yeah, I just really want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. This feedback is extremely valuable. It's exactly really what we needed at this stage of the design process. And we're going to take it back and work over the next few weeks here to be as responsive as possible to this in the designs, and then bring that back to you. But in the meantime, if things come up as after you leave the meeting or the next couple of weeks, just feel free to send me an email or send our product team an email here, and we'll do what we can to respond and make sure that we get them folded into the overall design. I mean, this is really a great community asset. It's a great opportunity, to improve the overall walkability, bikeability of the community, and then help support local businesses, as some of the comments have been directed at tonight. So really just want to thank you all, and we'll look forward to engaging with you more in the future. So with that, there's a survey you said that people will be prompted as they leave.
There should be, Brian. I tried.
If not, let us know. We'll we can give you a paper copy.
Yeah.
Mayor Rilling, do you have any final comments?
I just want to thank everybody for participating. I was really, really impressed with the renderings, both A and B. I thought it was very well thought out. I want to thank all the people who participated from the public. We really can't do it without public input. We really want to make sure that we listen, give the public what they think is needed over there. This is an amazing resource. We, for the most part, only have one chance to get it right. So we want to make sure that we do it right and make it a place for all that to enjoy our natural resources. And I'm excited about this. I can't wait to see the finished product.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody, and looking forward to hearing any additional feedback you have.
Take care, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.